Hello, BookTube. It's another Friday, so that means Friday reads. It's been a bit of an odd week for me. Um, been pretty good reading wise, but I started out sort of the weekend and earlier in the week with difficulty breathing, quite a bit uh, of difficulty at times, um, especially when I moved. I was gasping for breath at times. I thought I'd have to call an ambulance, but I had a nurse come out again, and they're still not sure what's wrong. It's COVID related, obviously, but uh, and as things have it, when she came, I was actually okay. Like I'm sitting here now, I'm okay, but well, it's actually been pretty good the last few days because I've got some antibiotics um, for any problems, chest infection, as well as for my leg, which is starting to get infected again. But yeah, it's just odd. Uh, and then I find out some other health issues, which I knew was sort of coming at some point. But so yeah. Uh, so I've been reading, and again I've had a good week of reading. Weather-wise, it's been kind of cool here. It's been up into the sort of mid-teens at times, Celsius, during the day, but then going down around zero, freezing at night. But yeah, let's get to reading. Last week I was pretty well finished. The Norman uh, Norman Collins, yeah, Norman Collins, London Belongs to Me. It's quite a honkin' novel. It's 740 pages, and it's set. I thought it was only actually a year, but I think I had about 100 some pages to read, or 200 last week, and it actually goes. It starts in 1938, Christmas, and it ends. Pardon me. It ends Christmas 1940. So it's a lead up to the war, just before, and told sort of like the everything is told through the eyes of the residents of a um, lodging house, sort of. That there's flats. It's broken into sort of flats and rooms, and there's a family, a retired gentleman and his daughter. Um, and then there's a single mother and her sort of late teenage son. I think he's 19 or somewhere around at 18, 19. And then there's a retired, not retired. She's sort of a washed up actress who's now working in nightclubs, trying to make ends meet. And another gentleman is late 50s who lost a job previous like 5 or 6 years, uh, working in sort of well, clerical type stuff, management, and he's just sort of scraping along, doing any job that he can. And then there's the landlady who lives in the basement, and then there's a uh, a new lodger that's a sort of medium, or well, fake, a shyster medium, um, that sort of tries to take her for her money. And so yeah, so it's an interesting book. Like it does talk about the events that are happening during the late 30s, and how they, the chatter and how they affect the people there, and their decisions and their daily routines. So I enjoyed it. It wasn't anything that sort of bowled me over at all, but it was fun read. It says here, the Capital's great vernacular novel, a joyous romp through a slice of London life. Yeah, I suppose that would be about right. Um, and the author's written, I guess, 17 novels. I definitely, if I saw something cheap, I would definitely pick it up of his to read something else to see how he's done. But he had an interesting life. He worked. It's according to this. Um, I haven't actually looked at Wikipedia or anything else to. He's definitely probably in here, but I haven't had a chance to look. That's my dictionary of biographical National Biographical Dictionary, Oxford. He was born in 1907 in Beaconsfield. It says Buckinghamshire. It says he was always a working writer, um, and they mentioned some of his early novels. But then he also was deputy chairman of publishers Golan's Left Wing um, book club, the Left Book Club series, and that's where George Orwell's Road to Wigan Pier was published. Um, and then he went to the BBC. He joined, it says here, lower levels, and as talks assistant, whatever that is, but was promoted, and by the end of the war was director of overseas service. Orwell actually did a thing for the overseas. He did sort of a propaganda program that was aimed at the colonies, India, I think mostly, and they sort of figured there might have been 3 people that listened to it. I think the scripts remain. I think I've got them, but there's no recordings that have been found yet. But anyway, back to Collins. He was in charge of the BBC's Lights program, and during like late 40s, he started the first daily serial called Dick Barton. It's a private investigator and sometimes special agent who appeared in 711 episodes between 46 and 51. Also, I saw somewhere else that he actually started at some point, I think, the Women's Hour that is still going on. Um, and he took over in 1947 controller of television, which was in its infancy at that point. And it says here that at that time there were only 31,000 licenses in the country. Yet, at the end of his stint 3 years later, there were 656,000 licenses. And then he left in 1950 to help a rival group, the Independent Television Authority, which later that decade broke the BBC's monopoly. So yeah, he's definitely somebody that I would like. I would definitely be interested in a biography of him, and reading more of his stuff. There was a film that was made, and I think it's 1948. I rewatched it on YouTube, when I say rewatched it, because I realized as I was watching it, I'd seen it before, but while I was reading the book, I didn't make any connection to it. It's one of the stars is Alistair Sim, with he got some beautiful parts in it and scenes with him, and Richard Attenborough, is the young boy that's lives upstairs, um, and it had some good opening scenes, and the last scene, like the scene of the street and stuff like that, and some night scenes that were really neat. It was produced by Frank Lauder, and Frank Lauder did, I think, the script for this, and Sidney Gillette. They were a team, almost like, well, not on the par of Powell and Pressburger, but it's very similar in the way that they did stuff. And Frank Lauder and Sidney Gillette they did the screenplay for The Lady Vanishes, is one of my favorite Hitchcock films. Um, and creating of the Caldecott, the two cricket guys. I'm trying to think. Caldecott is one. Um, I can't remember the other guy's name, but anyway, they created them, and then there was many films made by them in a TV series actually. But yeah, it's not a very remarkable film. I didn't think so anyway. Um, but it's all like if you're an Alistair Sim fan like I am, anything is worth watching with him just to watch him. Uh, they changed it very very much. Like the character, like the couple that had the daughter. There's daughters there, and but they had a son that was married. He didn't exist, and the guy that was in his late 50s that lived up on the top floor didn't exist. Her boyfriend became a policeman, and they ended it probably, I think, well, before the war started. So uh, there were quite a bit of changes to it. Uh, but then in 1977, apparently, Thames Television did I think it was a 13-part series of it, which I can't seem to find it anywhere. It doesn't seem to be on DVD or anything when my initial looking for it, because that I would like to see. I'm always up for lengthy older BBC miniseries, or not. I think that was Temp Television, so it would have been on ITV probably, but I'm always up for those. So after I finished that, I read the next, and that was last Saturday. I read the next 40 chapters in Niall's saga, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then I've read the next 40 as well today. Um, and so we're now up to the last push on it, about 100 pages, I think. Um, I'm not so sure that I would say that I'm enjoying it. I've had a little not difficulty is not even the right word. Not even close to it, but I didn't like it as much. This chapter 80 to 120. I didn't like it as much, and it's interesting watching the sag along videos. One thing that seems to be common, everybody seems to think that like the fight scenes are sort of I don't know if anybody was saying realistic, but they're very romantic, because it's like it reminds me of Monty Python, John Cleese as the Black Knight, where he gets his legs and arms lopped off. Oh, it's only a flesh wound. Um, you know, because there's, it just seems like people are getting, heads, split in half from, or head deheaded, decapitated, cut in half at the waist, arms and legs being lopped off, and sort of, there's no sort of repercussion, not repercussion, sort of, it's not realistic of the violence. Sort of, it reminds me of watching these sort of blockbuster films like Die Hard or something like that, where somebody gets thrown out of the plane, they land on the ground, they get up, shake themselves off, and run away, or they take 10 bullets to the chest and they go, oh, get up and run away. Or it may be going to the hospital, and then like a day or two later, they're up and running around again. All, unrealistic. This is sort of a romantic depiction of all that. And like I've read some of the sagas in the past, a long time ago, and then I read last year's Lakasdal, or whatever it was called, saga, and then I'm doing this one. I don't know if there's something that I would say that I really enjoy, because um, I find them I find them of great interest and importance, but it's sort of like reading sometimes something very dry, and um, like reading I don't know, the what could I compare it to that? I guess like reading the Doomsday Book, or something like the um, something else that sort of documents and stuff like that, where they're important, but it's not. I'm not getting a lot of enjoyment out of it in that way of pleasure of reading. I'm getting enjoyment in other ways, but not pleasure of reading. Um, so yeah, that's, I think, for me, that's how it is. And then continued on Sunday, read the next quarter, the third quarter of Evelyn Waugh's Brideshead Revisited. Still just a favorite book of mine. And I'll be reading the next, the final section on Sunday. And I'll be reading the next section of Nile Saga. Well, the end of it, there's 100 pages left that I'll be reading throughout the week. I got something else. I got it sort of last minute. I think it came on Sunday or Monday. Monday. Yeah, Monday. It came on Monday. Something that I'd read before. To Serve Them All My Days by R.F. Delderfield. Another large book. 660 some odd pages. It's set sort of between the wars. It's about a young man, David Powlett Jones. Is that right? Yeah. He's very young. He's like 19 or just coming up to 20. And he was in the First World War and he was invalided out. He was buried by a big shell explosions. And he's got shell shock. And this is sort of the last year of the war, 1918. And he's sort of said, well, go do some teaching in the middle of nowhere, sort of Devon, North Devon. And he gets a job as a schoolmaster in this Devon public school, well, private school, called Blamfield. And he has no qualifications for this, but they're desperate, so the headmaster takes him on. And he eventually loves it, and it sort of cures, it helps, heal him, I guess, in a sense. And he meets a young woman. He gets married. They have children, 2 twin daughters. And he sort of, he realizes that he's probably going to be there for the rest of his life. And he gets a degree, and he does historical research, and he eventually writes a book. But there's tragedy along the way as, things happen. His wife and one of his daughters get killed in a car accident. And it sort of, goes through, he's a socialist. He meets other people, another woman later that's a socialist, that's a labor politician. But they eventually marry, and yeah, it goes right up to the beginning of the Second World War, so 1940 basically. And he's in his, basically, I guess, he's in his late 40s by then, I guess it would be. Yeah, he must have been in the late 40s. And that's where it sort of ends, where he becomes the headmaster. And I picked this up in a hardcover, like, I don't know, sometime in the late 80s, I think, or maybe even early 90s at a book sale in Canada. And I just thought, it sounded interesting. And I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. And I still enjoyed it. It's a very, very fun read. Maybe not all that realistic at times, but it's just a very, very fun read. It's very comforting in some ways, because it's I guess not comforting may not be the best word. Cozy, I guess. Because it's in its world of its own, even though, the outside world does impinge on it to a certain extent, but it's very sentimental, looking towards the past as well. Somewhat like, Evelyn Waugh's Brideshead Revisited is that way, but it's definitely not written as well. Excuse me, not close to it. So it's basically a historical novel because it was written in 1972, just sort of the year before, I think, or the same year that, or published then, that R.F. Delderfield died. And he's the author of many other books, which I've not read, but I'd like to read more of him. He's sort of like the Norman Collins of the London Belongs to Me. I think I actually enjoy Delderfield's writing more, at least in this book, but I don't know about the other ones, than I did with the London Belongs to Me. And again, Thames Television, I think, well, it was ITV, I think, that did a mini series of this in the early '80s. I remember seeing it, and it. I forget the guy's name that played the Pilot Jones. Frank Middlemass, I think, played the old headmaster. Belinda Lang was his young wife. She's been on a lot of things, and she's the husband of Hugh Fraser, Hastings from the David Suchet, Poirot. I'd like to get that again. I remember seeing it. I had it on DVD, and I looked at it again, and uh, it was like I paid originally, I think, £5 something for it through Amazon New for the series, 13 parts. I think it's 13 parts, and then uh, um, I looked now, and it's like £50. So I won't be getting it anytime soon. But I would like to watch it again. But anyway, today, because I spent, well, I finished that last night, to serve them all my days, and sort of late last night, early morning, I finished up the Nile saga, and then this afternoon I've started, and I'm like 60 or some odd pages in to Dorothy McCardle's The Uninvited. That's the American title of it. The original title was called Freehold. Let me see if I can find it here. Uneasy Freehold, 1942. But then it was made into a film called The Uninvited in at some point. So that's where the title, they took it in 1944 with Ray Milland and Ruth Hussey. And it's sort of a ghost story, or it's a brother and sister who find a house. In the book, it's North Devon coast, sort of, similar to area, not so much coast-wise, but in Devon, as to serve them all my days. And they find this house called Cliff House. It's been abandoned for a long time, but they get it quite cheap. And it's like they're first asked, it's £1,400. And then they sort of look at each other and they go, well, would you take 1,000? Yeah, okay. So £1,000 for this fabulous house. Yeah, but £1,000 then was a lot, but still, it just sounds cheap. Yeah, and it's like as I say, it's early days with it now. I vaguely remember seeing the film, but when I sort of saw the name of the film, I remember that, and I wanted to see it again. So obviously to read the book. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. It's the kind of thing. It's always takes me, because I started it right after I finished, like literally just minutes after I finished the Nile saga, and you get used to that style of writing, and then it took me a few minutes, like maybe 20 pages, to get into the new style of writing of hers, which now I'm in the flow of that, and it works well. And they sort of like, she's like, the sister has a cat that's in there, and I love the name of Whiskey is the name of the cat. But yeah, so, and then this won't take me long. This is just over 300 pages, like maybe 330 pages with the introduction. So I'll be done with that by Monday, even reading the last part of Brideshead. And then I know the next thing I'm going to read is, I've got now the first movement of Anthony Paul's Dance to the Music of Time, with the first 3 novels. There's 11 or 12 novels. Can't quite remember. This has Question of Upbringing, A Buyer's Market, and The Acceptance World. I had already had the volume 2, the second movement, and this was a print-on-demand book from Amazon that was only £2 something, so I grabbed it. And then I saw on eBay this really cheap, so I ordered it. It said it was as new used, but I don't think it's been used. There's a little sort of scuffing along the bottom page edges, but that's shelfware. And this is not print on demand. So I find that a bit odd. And it might, I don't know if it's so, it's hard to tell, but I think it's just perfect bound, but but anyway, yeah, so this will be my third attempt actually at reading it, so the series. So I'm not expecting to lurch right into it and read it from cover to cover. I expect I'll read the first novel, first of all, which is short, it's 200 some pages. And then if it clicks with me this time, then I probably will continue on. But I suspect I'll read the first one, leave it sit for a while, and then go to the next one because I still need to get the other third volume and fourth volume at some point. So I don't want to rush into that because I can't get those yet because they're a bit pricey. Unless I find them cheap somewhere, but I don't think I've looked around and I can't see them sort of cheap enough. But yeah, so that'll be my reading for the week. Well, there'll be something else after that. If all I do is read the first volume of this, I'll probably be done that on Tuesday or Wednesday. Wednesday at the very latest. I don't even think it'll be Wednesday. It'll probably be Tuesday that I'll be done with that. And then I'll have to figure out something else. At this point, I'm not sure what. But then I'll be watching the Uninvited film, which I'm behind with those, and I do apologize. But fingers crossed this weekend I can get the Treasure of the Sierra Madre one done, and then there's another one, the House by the River, that I've got to watch and do as well, that I read by A.P. Herbert, the book. So I'm being a bit ahead with doing with the reading and stuff, but I'm behind in doing the films. So yeah, so I think that's where I am, and I hope everybody's doing well. As I say, I'm at the moment, my breathing is sitting here is fine. I'm starting to feel a little better, like there's a little bit of it more energy, but it's weird. I still got the COVID, sort of long COVID symptoms. I still don't have much of a taste, and like I can't really taste food much. I can taste saltiness. I can taste a few things, and I thought, well, because I forgot I had downstairs, I had some lime pickle. And I thought I'd do that because I thought, oh, it's spicy, so I should be able to taste that. Well, I do taste something, but I taste sweetness. I don't taste spiciness. This is just weird. My smell is still gone, and still not sleeping. But occasionally I can lay down for a few hours before the breathing gets bad. Then I have to get up. So, it's, I guess the doctors don't even know how this is going to play out, because everybody's different. It's something brand new, so I can't rush it. So there's not a lot I can do other than just sort of plug on day to day. But yeah, so I hope everybody is doing well. I'm doing, as I say, as well as possible, and I hope you have a good weekend for reading and next week. And I will, fingers crossed, well, I'll see you on the weekend at some point, but hopefully I'll be able to do the Treasure of Sierra Madre. I keep promising that, but definitely on Sunday or Monday, maybe at the latest, I'll do the last part of Brideshead Revisited. And then I'll be starting to watch the series again, I think, that's 13 parts, I think, as well. Like, they like their 13-part series. I think it's 13 parts, but I'll probably start watching this. But there's a lot of commentary, so I'll definitely report back at some point. But this could take me a while to sort of get through it, because I don't think I'm gonna sort of binge watch it. I'll watch maybe an episode a night or something like that. 11 episodes. There's 11 episodes, so yeah. So this isn't quite 13, but. Anyway, I will say goodbye there, BookTube. Ooh, we're up to 30 minutes here.